Greetings, everyone. Jonathan Bailey here from plagiarismtoday.com. Once again, the usual graphics should be demoing that. And today, I actually wanted to talk a little bit more about, well, actually not a little more about this. It's the first time I've touched on this video series. But there was a very interesting interview. A show in New Zealand called Campbell Live did a very, very lengthy interview with Dotcom, the founder, CEO of Mega Upload. As we all know, he was recently released on bail. There's being an appeal. The bail's being appealed, etc. It's a whole big mess right now as far as his freedom. But long story short, he's out right now, and this journalist was able to get a very lengthy interview. And it was about a 23-minute interview. Sat down with him and talked with him about a variety of things related to Mega Upload, how it worked, what it did, and why Dotcom feels he didn't do anything wrong, and why he feels Mega Upload is being unjustly prosecuted in this case. I found out about the interview because of it was on Reddit and Dig, and in both cases the comments to the interview were talking at great length, like, yeah, Dotcom's right. He's being screwed. He's gonna win. He's gonna kick some FBI ass. That type of thing. Really rah-rah, go Dotcom, kick some butt. And I'm like, I've got to see this because I actually read the bulk of the 72-page indictment, and I think Dotcom has lots of reasons to worry. I think there's a lot of decent evidence against him, and I'm not saying he's guilty. It's all an indictment. It's all an accusation. But reading through it, it seems like they definitely did a lot of things that were very wrong and not in line with even what other cyberlockers do. So I wanted to see what interesting evidence Dotcom had to his innocence. And I watched the interview through and through, and there were three points I found strangely missing from this interview. The first was money laundering as an issue. This is kind of strange to me. This is not just Campbell Live that's made this mistake. I've made this mistake, quite frankly. Half the indictment, half the charges, give or take, center around accusations of money laundering, not piracy. And there was no talk about money laundering in any way, shape, or form. Admittedly, this is something I'm not an expert in. I don't know enough to offer any opinions on whether or not he laundered money. To me, money laundering is when I leave my wallet in my pants and they get washed. So I really don't know anything about this topic, but I would like to have heard Dotcom address. I would like to have heard the interviewer address it. I would like to have heard some more information about this. The second issue that wasn't talked about is Dotcom in this interview harps over and over and over again about their DMCA compliance and about how they actually offered a system which, like the MPAA, like the movie studios and record labels, could go in and delete files without having to file takedown notices. Harped on that a great deal, but the interviewer did not actually ask about the compliance. As we talked about on Plagiarism Today, and as that was talked about in the indictment, Mega Upload did not actually remove files. They removed links. And there's a big difference between those two things, because Mega Upload had one version of every file. I mean, if the Avengers movie got uploaded to Mega Upload, for example, by 20 different people, those 20 people would have it consolidated to one file on the server with 20 links. They would disable the links going to the file, but not remove the file. I think that's a violation in the spirit of the DMCA, and it's interesting because he kept likening himself to YouTube. YouTube uses their content ID and their content matching tools to help copyright holders monetize and remove work, where Mega Upload use it just to save them server space. At the end of the day, they didn't want to store 20 copies of the same file. But the final question I don't think got a good answer or got really addressed, once again in any meaningful way, was the issue of Mega Upload's alleged scraping and copying of the entire contents of YouTube. There's several emails and a great deal of evidence in there that Mega Upload was involved in an effort to scrape everything available on YouTube, legal or not on YouTube, and port it over to their new video site so they could compete head-to-head with YouTube and make it look like those files were uploaded organically by users, when in fact it was Mega Upload itself and its employees that were doing this scraping and uploading. Not touched on anywhere in this interview. The closest they came was Dotcom talked about the Viacom YouTube case, in which of course YouTube has won in the lower court and is on appeal, but talked about it and said that, if you look at their emails and their conversation, they are, we're like kittens compared to them. Well, I think the whole YouTube thing shows that you're not exactly innocent, and that's an issue that needs to be addressed. Now, I'm not saying, Mega Upload and Kim.com are guilty. I'm not saying they deserve jail. I'm not saying they have deserved what's happened to them up to this point. But it seems an overly dismissive attitude here, and this interview did not cover a lot of the critical questions I wanted to see answered. And so my opinions on the case haven't changed. The issues, I think, are the strongest arguments against Mega Upload were ignored. He just continued with the pretty standard PR campaign of we're just like Google and YouTube, even though the indictment shows several instances where they're not, and ignoring a lot of the more difficult questions. So all in all, go watch the interview. Definitely worth watching, but don't let it, sway you too hard until you read the indictment for yourself. He calls it a press release in this interview, but it does have some pretty interesting facts, well, at least what the FBI is alleging are facts. Does have some interesting arguments, and so read the indictment for yourself. Listen to Kim.com, decide for yourself, get the whole story. Don't be one of these guys that's talking about Kim.com is going to win, but haven't even glanced at the indictment, just taking Kim.com's word that it's a press release. On that note, I'm running a little over today, so I'll talk to you guys later. Leave me a comment on the YouTube page or the Facebook page or the Google Plus page as you see fit. Would love your suggestions for topics in the future. Later.